It gives me great pleasure, and I take joy in introducing to some and presenting to others the Acts Fellowship Mass Choir. Stand on your feet. Give God glory. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so.
The Bible says in Isaiah 57 and 15, "For thus saith the high and lofty one, that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, and I am with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit. I'm here to revive the spirit of the humble, and to revive the heart of the contrite ones. Come, let us magnify the Lord, who is high and lifted up." Come on and put your hands together. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. Somebody give him glory in this place. Hallelujah. Enthroned on high. He's in his holy place. Anybody know his name is holy? Somebody ought to bless his name. He's the only one worthy. Say be. For he is. Anybody know there's none above him?
All righty, I want to say good evening to everybody. God bless you and you and you. Thank you so much for tuning in on this wonderful second Sunday in January 2021 as we're here in the sanctuary of New Life Fellowship Church. Thank you for being a part of this special conversation on tonight, and we want to welcome you and you and you. Hopefully we could see some folks from New Life Fellowship, Columbia, Macomb, and Silver Creek tuning in, and so God bless you guys. I see you, Natalie Thompson from Silver Creek, Dr. Valerie Bass Russell, see you, Linda Hamilton. All right, we got Silver Creek in the house. I need to make sure we get some Macomb Fellowship family in the house also. Please make sure you log in. Thank y'all for just being a part on this evening. I want to welcome you. This is a special conversation that we'll be having tonight concerning COVID-19 and the vaccine and a number of other things. And so I just wanted to greet you and welcome you, and we'll have a wonderful time of sharing on tonight. I want to open up with prayer, and then I'll turn it over to our host for this evening. Father, we're grateful to you as always for your many blessings. Thank you for allowing us to be together one more time. Thank you for those that are tabernacling around their devices and here tonight to get this information. As always, we acknowledge you in our ways, and we're looking to you to direct our paths. Lord, so many people are dying of COVID-19, and so many questions about the vaccine, and all kinds of things are going on surrounding this particular topic. So thank you, Lord, for the people here who will be able to help us and guide us through this particular conversation. Bless now in Jesus' name I ask it. Amen and amen. Well, again, thank y'all for being a part. Right now, I want to get out of the way and turn it over to our capable host for this evening, Pastor Tasha Dillon, involved in serving at the Macomb Location Church. She also does a particular piece of hosting Let's Talk Live, so she's well capable of narrating this particular situation. And so we're glad to have her, and I'll turn it over to her, and she'll introduce the panel list and all the other stuff that will be going on. So you'll get a chance to ask some questions, and she'll talk about that in just 1 second. Thank y'all so much for being here. Thank my tech team and all those who are making this possible. All right, so for those that are logged in, if you see a church member that's not logged in, please share that with them and let them know they can tune in now and get some good information. And again, we're concerned with total man, body, soul, and spirit, and so this is part of that vision on tonight. All right, Pastor Tasha Dillon, I'll turn it over to you. Do what you do.
All right. Good evening. We are so glad to have you guys here. And as Pastor Williams mentioned, we are having a conversation, a COVID conversation or a candid conversation about COVID-19. The vaccine time is here now, and we've all experienced this. No matter where you are in the world, we have all been impacted. So I'm so glad this evening to introduce our guest to you, and we're going to jump right in. So as we start, you may have questions on your mind. We invited those questions earlier, and also live while we're here, we have someone who is monitoring those comments. So if you have a question to ask, don't hesitate, drop it down there in the comment section, and you have experts. Our experts on this evening are our leading voices in the conversation. We have our very own Monica McGee. She is MSN RN, and she is also the CEO of Assurance Healthcare Services, LLC. She's been on the front line of the pandemic from day one, and she has been so informative. And as well, I'm so glad to let you guys know that we have Dr. John G. Smith, MD. He is a native of Tylertown, Mississippi, the son of Dr. Shirley Smith. And he was so gracious to join us on this evening. You may have seen him on MSNBC with Mirror. You may have seen him on Dr. Oz or Good Morning America. And how about he is here with us with New Life Fellowship Full Gospel Churches, and we're grateful to have his leading voice on this matter as well. So we consider them experts on this evening, and you have them with your attention. So let's jump right in, and I want to bring them up. And I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves to you. I'm going to start with Monica. If you will, take a moment and say good evening and let everyone know a little something about you.
Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Monica McGee. I am a registered nurse. I've been in the medical field for over 20 years. I happen to enjoy what I do. I feel like that it is a calling for me. The pandemic has brought about many challenges for the healthcare field, but now that we have things put in place here that we hope that will be able to help us to get this pandemic under control, I am glad to be here tonight. I'll be able to share some of the knowledge that I have. I would answer the questions to the best of my ability, and those that I cannot answer, I will find the answer for you.
All right. And if we can have Dr. Smith to introduce himself, let us know a little bit about him, his family, and the work that he does as well.
Alrighty, hopefully everybody can see and hear me okay. My name is Dr. Smith. My first name is John, originally from Tylertown, Mississippi. I've been to Life several times. My mom is a member there. She's a minister there as well. I am a physician. My specialty is psychiatry, but just like Ms. Monica said, I've been on the front lines of this pandemic as well, treating COVID patients during the thick of things, and I definitely have the medical background and experience to speak about the science of the vaccine and the things that's out there. So I'm really excited to be here today. And again, ask me anything. If I don't know the answer, like Ms. Monica said, I'll definitely do my due diligence in finding those answers for you guys.
Okay, well, thank you guys for that. And this is a really frank time. So where we are right now in America, and it's something how we can talk about a topic such as COVID and say where we are in the world and where people live today. We have in America alone, as I understand, if we have not reached 300,000, that we're on track for 300,000 deaths that are attributed to COVID. And they say by the end of March that we could have over 500,000 deaths just in the United States of America. And so what we know and what we understand is that I don't know anyone who can say they have not been impacted or affected by COVID. Can you all take a moment and just talk to us about where we are in regards to COVID in today's time? So what does it look like? You know, before we talk about the vaccine, what are the statistics looking like? Are we still on track to see that many more deaths? You know, I know we're post-Christmas, so what is going on right now? And whichever one of you guys would like to jump in, I think we're going to be all on screen together in a second.
Okay. I can start. I definitely, when you ask the question of where are we, we're in a real dire time for the health of our country, for the health of this world. As far as the deaths are concerned, the latest deaths that I saw in is up to 367,000 death rate that I saw. And so it is steadily climbing. This month, we have reached some of the highest days of COVID cases and deaths. And so the numbers are still climbing. As far as the state of where we are, I think that we are on the horizon with finding the COVID vaccine, the 2 vaccines that we do have that have been tested for their effectiveness and proven by the FDA to be safe. We do have those, and that's going to help us to start mending the health of our community. But it's going to take a while before we see life before what COVID looked like. And honestly, my opinion, I'm interested to know what you have to say, Ms. Monica, but my opinion is that we're still at the thick of things, and hopefully, seeing an improvement.
Right. We all want to see an improvement. Would you like to add anything to that, Monica?
I would say that here, for the state of Mississippi, that the healthcare system has been pretty overwhelmed, especially during the holidays, right before the holidays and after the holidays, with COVID cases, with ICUs being full and hospitals being full, with not only with the COVID patients, but other patients as well. We still have heart disease and different illnesses that are out there that are having to go to the hospital and be hospitalized. So we are in a pretty, say, a bad shape, but we are in need of some type of relief when it comes to COVID-19, being able to get it under control. And I honestly believe that with this vaccine that has come out, that is a step in the right direction for sure.
Okay, so let's deal with a myth. One myth that I hear a lot of people are saying, no one is dying from anything else, because all we're hearing are COVID deaths. So people are saying, if COVID is real, why aren't we now hearing that people are still dying from heart attacks and strokes or other kinds of deaths are happening? So are people still needing hospital services, and are they not able maybe to get those services as well because of COVID? And are there other situations going on health-wise that people are still impacted? Everything is not COVID. So can you kind of help people with that? Because I don't think we have a balance, and people are thinking we're just using COVID as everything that, and it's not really, the numbers are not really adding up. Talk to us about that for a second.
Well, I can speak to it just a little bit, especially with right now in my studies with on my track of being a nurse practitioner here in the next couple of weeks, being in the clinic where you have people who come in who are sick. They may have what we call COPD exacerbation, or their blood pressure is really extremely high, or you may need to send them to the hospital for a chest x-ray or x-ray of their spine or x-ray of their neck or something along that line. They're scared. They are scared because they feel like COVID-19 has overtaken our hospitals. They don't want to go and lay up on the radiology table to be seen about. They don't want to go, and get the medications that they need for that one patient that has COP exacerbations. They're scared to death because they don't want to go into the hospitals because they feel like COVID-19 has just taken over. I wouldn't necessarily say that all of the other illnesses have disappeared, because they're not. They have not. They are still here. They are still prevalent. But we have been overshadowed by the different myths and the different patients that have succumbed to coming to the hospitals for COVID-19 and having to be hospitalized and not able to take care of themselves at home.
I so agree with that because I know a real situation, even as of today, where someone was needing hospital care, but they were so concerned about COVID that they're trying to, sit it out at home in the stead. Dr. Smith, anything to add to that?
I definitely agree. We've seen in our hospital initially when COVID in South Carolina was really bad, that a lot of the hospitalizations were definitely decreasing. People were not wanting to come into the hospital for fear of COVID. Diseases are still out there, but the rates are still the same. The latest numbers are that now COVID is the leading cause of death in America. With still second to cardiovascular disease and then some types of cancers. And so it has replaced as a leading cause of death, but the other diseases are still there and still in the same number that they were there. And for patients that are suffering from those illnesses, those chronic illnesses, it is a tough time for those patients to be engaged in the healthcare system and to be afraid to get the healthcare that they need. But those numbers are still there. COVID is now the leading cause of death in America, but we still have to care for patients with all ailments and encourage them treatment when they need it.
Okay. All right. So we know COVID is real. We've all been impacted by COVID. And we know everyone won't believe, but we know 100 years ago we had the Spanish flu, and it was very real, and 100 years before that, other pandemics. So let's talk about now, the big talk is about the vaccine. And I want us to take a moment, and this forum this evening, and we are receiving your questions. Thank you guys, and they're being added to the list. So if you have questions, make sure you pop those out there because we're going to be answering those questions. So right now we are in a vaccine moment, and we're talking about getting that down. And we have a Mississippi chart. We're going to pop that up real quick. And it talks about the different phases. So we are aware that, they have for medical professionals, they have for the elderly, for those who are in maybe incapacitated, not being able to get out, or nursing homes. And then you deal with other groups, essential workers, and all of that. So, they are putting some measures out in order to get the vaccine disseminated. But we know one thing is we don't have enough produced, and they plan to produce extra as we go along. So to talk about where we are with the vaccine, I want both of you to tell your experience, because I understand you both have had the vaccination or the first shot perhaps. And, I want to kind of take this step by step. So I'm going to ask some questions in the process. So how was it? Have you had your first shot, second shot? And how was it when you got it, and how are you responding?
Mm-hmm. So I had the first shot of the Pfizer vaccine. That comes in 2 doses. After the first dose, about 19 to 23 days, you get the second dose. And so I'm projected to get the second dose. I was supposed to get it today, but I'm going to get it tomorrow. I will say for the first dose for me, there was some soreness at the injection site that lasted for me about a day or so. I pre-treated with Tylenol because I anticipated that would be. But I didn't get any of the systemic symptoms at all, like the fever, the chills, the shakes, or anything like that. I have heard from other colleagues that they experience headaches and things like that, but nothing major as far as side effects systemically, but just some soreness at the site for me.
Okay. So in a sense, how about you, Monica?
So for me, I have not gotten the vaccine just yet. I am scheduled to get it on the 19th of this month. the facility where I am employed. We had some coordination issues, but we've gotten all that together, and we will be getting it. I will be getting it on the 19th of this month.
Okay, so you'll be with your first shot.
My first injection.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Now, let me mention, because we know that there are apprehensions, especially within the African American community, for good reason, why people are hesitant about the vaccination, whether they should or should not take it. And then, of course, you have, even within the religious, the church community, some are feeling like this is the Antichrist, and you know, they don't want to deal with it. So there are so many theories, thoughts around taking the vaccination. And then let me add to that, because I want you guys to really talk to us and deal with us. We have questions about how does it affect you, what are some side effects and things. But first, let's talk about the apprehensions that people have because they are afraid. They think about Tuskegee Airmen, the men of Tuskegee. They think about, probably the Indian culture or things that were done there. We think about all of the medical experimentations that have affected our culture as African Americans, and people hesitate. So you both are African Americans, and Monica, you're lined up to take it, and Dr. John Smith, you have already taken your first shot. And so what do you say to the people who say, I don't trust the government, I don't trust the process, I don't want anything to do with this shot at all? What do you say to those individuals?
Well, for me, let me just throw out just a few statistics when it comes to the trials that they had, when it comes to the Moderna per se. The Moderna vaccine trials, some of the trials were done right here in Hattiesburg. Well, over in Hattiesburg, at Hattiesburg Clinic with some of those physicians over there. 79.4% white, 20% Hispanic, 9.7% African American. These are, we are for some reason at the bottom, and I get it. It's because we're scared. We had the Spanish flu to come through. We did talked about the Tuskegee Airmen with the syphilis and that type of thing. I don't want that to interfere with us being able to get on top of this pandemic. We're praying to God. We're asking for some type of intervention. We want things to get better. We've watched people die. The African American community, along with the Hispanic, are the ones who are mostly hospitalized when it comes to this particular disease. Our loved ones are dying in mass numbers. And in order for us to be able to get on top of this, we have to have some type of intervention. And I know people are saying that they came up with a vaccine so quick, but that's not necessarily true. You want to do your due diligence and go out and do your research and read up on these things. When coronavirus first come about in the United States, researchers were already trying to come up with what we call an mRNA vaccine for coronavirus. Coronavirus is not necessarily new. The strain that we're dealing with is new. So they were already 10 years into trying to come up with an mRNA vaccination. So the FDA and the CDC, come up with a process called Operation Warp Speed, basically. Normally when you're dealing with a vaccination or coming up with these type of medications, you have phases that you go through. Well, just because we're in a pandemic, because people are dying, because a lot of people are sick when it comes to this particular vaccination, some of those phases was done at the same time. You were able to, get things done quicker because we need it. Not only that, but the trials that were done, these trials were done on multiple people where they looked at the side effects, they looked at is it safe. The CDC is not, I feel, it's just my opinion, is not going to release something that is just could possibly take out half of the nation when you talk about giving everybody this particular vaccination. I do not think that. All of the physicians that I've worked with in the past, especially over Hattiesburg Clinic, Forest General, different places, they have all taken it. If you take out the healthcare workers, then who's going to take care of the general public? It just makes no logical sense. That's my opinion. and I'm sticking to it. My career is based off of research. When I swallow a Tylenol for a headache, that's research. I'm believing that Tylenol is going to cure my headache. I can't prescribe medicine, educate on medication, talk to people that calls me for advice on what to do here and what to do there, and not believe in science. I believe in God. I trust God. Yes, I do. But I also believe in science.
That's excellent. Dr. Smith, what do you say to those who are hesitant? What do you say to those who don't trust this process? Thank you so much for that, Monica.
So the first thing that I generally try to tell patients, people, is I try to tell them a little bit about the history of the vaccine, a little snippet about that, and then I'll talk about the Black community specifically. And so briefly, I'll just kind of go over that just for our audience, just to kind of get some education. This isn't new. Vaccination as a science is new. 1,000 years after the birth of Christ, actual Chinese monks were looking at finding ways to inject less poisonous materials so that they could build up an immunity to things if they were to ever encounter those things. Fast forward to the smallpox in the 1800s. After some of those technologies were revitalized and changed, that's when the first real vaccine came out from laboratory experience. Fast forward to 1980, the World Health Organization said that smallpox was completely eradicated because of this vaccine. In 1950s, you guys are probably familiar with from history or from knowing the polio disease. And that vaccine that came out in the 1950s and in 2000, 99% global reduction of that disease was said by the same organization. In 1993 and 1994, it's important to really understand that a lot of people think that when they get their children to get the shots when they're 2 months and 4 months and 6 months, they think that those are just shots, but those are vaccines. Those are immunizations. When you look at the shot that you have to take before you go to kindergarten, the MMR vaccine, rubella, that's a vaccination that we all take. And so vaccines are not new. This vaccine is new in the science of how it's made. Most of the time, whenever they looked at how the vaccine was made, they injected with particles from the virus. But this vaccine is an mRNA virus, meaning that they didn't inject the particles, rather they injected the machinery to make the particles. And so therefore, that's why it was faster, because the science has caught up a lot faster.
Yes.
When it comes to the Black community, I say that I validate their concern. Because if you look at the history of Black community in America, you can see why Black people are terrified to take the vaccine. Look at in the slavery times, they used Black women on obstetrics and gynecological practices. We talked about the syphilis and them injecting syphilis during the Tuskegee syphilis trials. And then you now go to present day, where you look at Black women that are 3 times more likely to die in childbirth. And so now we come to this, and we say we have a vaccine for COVID, and we want the Black community to take it. I say when Black people are skeptical about those things that I'm taking it. I would, recommend that my mother take it. We are disproportionately affected by this COVID pandemic. We're 3.7 times more likely to be hospitalized. We're 3 times more likely to die from the pandemic. We really don't have the opportunity and the luxury to sit back during this time and not really act and take caution for this vaccine. And so after laying out the facts, after really letting them know that we are the people that are most affected by this, us and the Hispanic people, I urge them to take it. And I let them know that I took it. I let them know my experience. And I pray and hope that they make the right decision. Forums like this is going to help us. Yeah. The fact that we are talking about the vaccine, the fact that we're talking about the pandemic in a church environment is impactful and it's powerful. And so doing things like that, I think we're going to be able to bridge the gap so that people can trust the vaccine and we can move forward.
Yes. Yes. And you said something key. Let me ask both of you, how important is it for the church leaders to speak on this matter? How do you think that is very significant in this time?
I think it's really important because, I'm a doctor. You're a nurse practitioner. Well, it's important to be in the community. People are going to listen to us, but we need people that are on the ground, people that are in the pulpit, that are talking about these things, that where people can trust them and they know that I can trust these people. They're looking out for my best interest. They want to see me win. They want to see me, do well, be healthy. And coming from the pulpit to attack this, it's really, I think, awesome and incredible. And I wish this format was used on a lot of other different disorders and diseases and things like that, to have that church and community aspect come together. So it's really crucial. And honestly, I think opportunities like this go a lot farther than anything I can say in an office.
All
You
right.
know, hearing it from the pulpit is really where it starts, I believe, with the trusting
So
aspect.
pastors, we all need to resolve our questions in this matter. This is homework that we need to do in order to help lead people in such a detrimental time. We are in a pandemic. So let's address some of the questions that we have received from our viewers, and we appreciate it. You guys are really asking the questions. All right, so to start off with, the first question is, and I think you all have addressed it, but if you would like to add something to this, how can we be sure that the vaccine is safe? And let me just throw a little note in there, because we know the one article that has circulated on social media is about the doctor who took the first dose, was relatively healthy according to the report, and died, I think, within 2 weeks. So we know that many more have taken the vaccine. We know that a gross number more have died from the virus, but there's this one story. So how can we be sure that the vaccine is safe? Anything you would like to add that you haven't said before?
I would say this, when it comes to specifically if we're dealing with the case with the physician that died not soon after he took the vaccination. With any type of treatment that you take, or any type of foreign substance that you put in your body, you run the risk of, there are risks out there. There's side effects that you're going to have. There's a possibility that death could take place. Now, the article never said that the doctor died from the COVID vaccination. That is not proven. We have not researched that. No one has said that. We don't know if at that particular time, he had a massive heart attack and died. Who knows? We don't know that, so you can't specifically say that his death was caused by the vaccine. When you go into a facility and you're having a procedure done, or you're having some type of nuclear medicine put into your vein when they put an IV in you, they tell you that one of the risks of taking this procedure or taking this particular medication is death. That's what anything foreign that you put in your body that is not natural or whatnot, you run a risk. So I would say that do your research, do your due diligence, ask your questions, speak with your physician prior to taking the vaccination, if that's something that would appease you. But definitely you want to do the research yourself and try to find out the answers to some of these questions, and not believe everything that is posted on social media.
Right, that's very good, because as you said, every vaccine has had side effects with some people. That is a part of medicine, science, and finding cures. The next question is, what are the side effects? Oh, I apologize, Dr. Smith. Please add that in.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that and just talk about, when we talk about the safety of the vaccine, to actually look at the studies of the vaccine. With the Pfizer vaccine, it was 44,000 participants in that vaccine. There was 0 serious allergic reaction or side effect. 0. When you look at the Moderna vaccine, the new vaccine that only has 1 dose, that's 94.5% effective, there were 13 natural deaths that took place during that, but they were not at all related to the vaccine. And so that lets you know right there, out of the participants that took the vaccine, that it is safe. Another thing I want to add before you moved on is that the FDA approved this vaccine. In order to get a vaccine medication approved, it goes through 3 phase trials. And that takes several months, as we can see. They started this vaccine, the technology for the mRNA vaccine was 30 years before COVID even hit, and then it hit. And that's why they had the machinery, the understanding how to make this new vaccine, and that's why it came out still in 12 months. So it still took a year with even the new technology that was out there. And so I go back to just the safety. There were no serious side effects or reactions from this vaccine in the studies. And that usually assures people that it is safe.
That's so good. And I have a feeling, though, you're going to have some people going out and say, which brand is this? Is this Moderna or Pfizer? I think we'll be asking that question
Right.
now.
I will say that in both brands, nobody died from the vaccine. There was no serious reactions from the vaccine with any brand. And so therefore, both brands are safe.
Okay, that's great. And so that was one of the questions that was up next. What are the side effects of the immunization, or what are some effects of taking it? Maybe we should ask that as well.
Some of the typical side effects that were noted in the Pfizer vaccine was fatigue, headache that I spoke about earlier, fever, chills, some mild chills. For the Moderna vaccine, it was the same. About 2% people reported fatigue. Headache was about 2% of the people um, in the study as well. And so the mild systemic symptom is what people experience um, with the vaccines. And so the symptoms that if you do experience, and then some people ask the question, well, why do I experience symptoms at all? And it's simply because just the science of it, your body is mounting the defense against that COVID. And so what happens is that some people, they feel the defense that their body is mounting. And so now your body has the work, the immune system and cells in place to now fight that vaccine if it's coming to your body. And so I think it's important to understand why that if you do have a vaccine, a mild headache, fever, chills, mildly for like a day or so is what it's reported to have after they say that it dissipates without any medication. That's the reason why. It's because your body is mounting that defense so that you can have the mechanisms in place if you were to experience to have the COVID virus.
Okay, that is fantastic answers. Thank you so much. That's very helpful. Okay, well, the next question is, if you have been exposed, how long do you have to wait in order to take the vaccine? So if you have, and I'm presuming this means, if you have, or assuming if you have been exposed to COVID, how long do you have to wait to take the vaccine?
Well, being exposed and actually being infected is two different things. I could come in contact with someone who's positive for COVID and I never, contract the virus. For me, I would be able to go and get the vaccination. Now, for someone who is active with with the COVID virus, or who has, I want to say, 90 days history of post-COVID virus, then you want to speak with your physician to see exactly when you're able to go and take that vaccination. There are some guidelines there, and what they're telling people is to talk to your physician. If you've already been infected with COVID-19, then you want to talk with your physician as to be able to tell you when it is safe for you to be able to take that vaccination.
Okay, all right. Would you like to add anything to that, Dr. Smith?
I'll agree with that. My latest understanding is that if you have had the COVID, actually had COVID, and you got over COVID, that if you don't have active symptoms, that the vaccine is for you to take. Of course, it has not been tested and approved in with pregnant women, breastfeeding moms. It has not been tested and approved with Pfizer. Anybody under 16 was not tested and approved. For Moderna, anybody under 15. And so for those population, those very young population, and then for, of course, pregnant women, breastfeeding moms, and people with active symptoms, you want to stay away from the vaccine. If you have any autoimmune conditions, whether that be lupus, whether that be even type 1 diabetes, anything like that, you want to ask your doctor if you're taking chemo for cancer and you're compromised in that way. You want to ask your doctor if it's okay for you to take the vaccine. But generally speaking, everyone else is safe to take the vaccine.
Correct.
Okay. Next question is, can you get COVID again, can you re-contract COVID?
Yes. The short answer to that, yeah, you can get COVID again. There's been some cases out there of people contracting COVID for the second time. I personally, maybe you have, Monica, have heard of people getting it 3 times. I haven't heard of that, but I definitely have heard of people contracting it twice.
Wow. Okay. And what precautions, if a person has been infected, should they still take the pre-COVID protective, measures when they recover? Because a lot of times you see them out and about and feeling like they don't have to take the precautions now.
Yes. Yes.
Short answer is yes.
Yes. Please, please, please continue to take all precautions after you have won the battle with COVID. Please take all precautions, especially until we get this vaccination in people. We get past the second dose and we actually see how long the immunity lasts. You want to make sure that you take all precautions. Even someone who has taken the second dose of the vaccination, please continue to take all precautions. Go on to the CDC website, the Mississippi Department of Health website, and it'll tell you all the precautions that you need to take. Wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands, do not touch your face, those type of things. Please continue to do that.
Okay. Next question. Why is the second shot needed? Why is the second shot needed?
The first vaccination gives you a certain percentage of immunity. The second vaccination gives you more immunity. Both vaccinations are between 94 and 95% effective. So now you're talking about a 5% and a 6% of not being effective. So you want to take the vaccination to get that particular, to get those, the efficiency of the vaccine. You want to make sure that you're getting both. Now, I did hear, or I did read that because they're having to make more of the vaccination and want to make sure that we get enough out to people, there could be possibly way down the road, way down the line, that they will narrow it down to possibly one step when it comes to the vaccination. But right now, we are not, short of the medication. They're still making it. They're, saying that we're going to have enough for everybody to get both doses. So you definitely want to make sure that you get both of the vaccinations, take both steps, so that you can get the full effect of the vaccination.
Okay. Anything to add to that, Dr. Smith?
I will say that the Moderna is a 1-dose vaccine. So the Pfizer is a 2-dose, but the Moderna is a 1-dose vaccine. And so it's just basically the way that they package the vaccine.
Okay. Next question. I am 72. When and where do I get a vaccine? We're going to assume this person is Mississippi. Monica, you can answer this. Can my primary doctor give it to me? I am 72. When and can my primary doctor give me the vaccine?
So right now, Mississippi has 18 different sites that has been allocated to give these vaccinations. There is a website that I will bring up in just a little bit here that you can actually go to schedule your appointment, and you can go to one of those sites to get the vaccination. Right now, physician offices here, I know in Columbia, does not have the vaccination on hand. Will that come in the future? I'm sure it will, but there are sites, Forest General Hospital, Wesley Merritt Health Center, and then different places that is listed there. I don't know all 18 sites right off the top of my head that are listed there that you can actually get the vaccination. Lake Terrace Convention Center in Hattiesburg is a site that they're actually giving the vaccination now to the individuals that are 70 and above.
Okay. And how does the vaccine fight against the new strain? So what we've heard is that there are 2 additional strains that are more highly contagious, though they may not be more impactful. But how does the vaccine fight against the new strain?
So as far as the science of this vaccine, that's what helps it fight, is that the mRNA vaccine, it gives you the machinery to fight and basically it builds up an immunity to that, therefore, COVID vaccine of the virus. And so their surface proteins, not to get too technical, but their surface proteins on viruses. And that's what makes, them identified. That's what makes them be able to infect people. And so those strands, basically, sometimes they have different proteins on them. But it has been said that the vaccines are to be effective against those new strands. And so that's a positive, but that's not 100%. We still need to wait and see. But it's said that the vaccine is be able to manage those strands. Is the latest that I've heard.
Okay. All right. Anything you'd like to add to that, Monica?
No, ma'am.
Okay. The next question. If your system is very compromised and your healthcare worker suggests not to take it, I'm told to wait until more research is done, which vaccine would be best. So this is someone who says they have a compromised system. They were advised not to take it until more research was done, and they're asking which vaccine is better. So twofold question there.
So what I've researched and read and learned is that when they did the studies or when they did the trials, they did do the trials on people who had comorbid conditions, that type of thing. They did not do the trials on pregnant people, and they did not do the trials on anyone that was immunocompromised. Now, they did do some trials on patients that had HIV, but they did not do the trial on a patient that is immunocompromised. That'll be another one where you would need to go and speak with your physician, because if you're already immunocompromised, you do not want to take a vaccine that is not going to, your body is not going to basically respond to and help to fight off. So you want to talk with your physician about that to make sure that it's okay with your physician to take that vaccine.
Okay, good. Anything you want to add to that, Dr. Smith?
Nope, I agree.
Okay, so which vaccine is more effective, or the question is one vaccine more effective than another? And then there was that other part, which vaccine would you say is better?
Technically, if you look at it, Pfizer was 95% effective, Moderna was 94.5%, and so a 0.5 percentage difference. If you're looking at that, which clinically is not significant, I would say which one to get before the other. I would say whichever one is available first.
That's right.
Is the litmus test.
That's right.
That's the better.
They're both on par with each other as far as effectiveness and safety. So
Okay.
whichever is first.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I still have that feeling that 0.5 people are going to be asking for Pfizer. Okay, next question. Will the COVID vaccine be an annual prophylactic measure as the influenza injection is, or is it a one-time event?
We don't know that right now. Yeah, that's something that we're waiting on to see. As people take the vaccine, they're going to do more studies to see how long that immunity lasts in our system, and then we'll see if it's an annual vaccine. Maybe some vaccines are every 10 years. If you look at the tetanus, who knows? Hopefully, we'll get more bang for our buck, and that it'll last in our systems longer. But we'll just have to see as people take the vaccine and the studies come out.
That would be wonderful. Anything to add to that?
I will say that if your first injection is Moderna, your second injection has to be Moderna. You can't mix them together.
Okay, well, that's very important to remember. So whichever brand you start with, you need to finish with that. That's very good. Thank you for that. And next question, what about the MMR vaccine causing autism in Black boys? So I don't know if this is COVID related. You guys would know more than I do on that. So what about the MMR vaccine that is causing autism in Black boys?
I think that's a good question. It's a fair question. It's one that I've heard several times, especially in my work. I'm a psychiatrist, and so autism, that's what I treat. And so it was rumored that the vaccine, a particular particle in the vaccine, I forget which one that they were arguing about, but a particular particle in a vaccine caused autism. But they did the study, a huge study, and they debunked that study. So that's not true. That you can correlate the vaccine, MMR vaccine, and autism to any particular community, especially not the Black community. But that's definitely a fair question. I've heard that before.
Anything to add to that? Wow.
No.
Okay. If the second vaccine is not taken, what will happen?
That's a good question. I think that you would only have for the Pfizer about 50% immunity built up, and
Wow.
so the second dose you don't get up to that 95% that we talked about. So what would happen? You would just be walking around with 50% immunity, and it wouldn't be as effective as having that full dose. So I don't know if it would like be any adverse effect or anything like that from just getting one dose and not getting the second. I don't think it's like, well, one dose is better than no doses. I don't think you should think in that way, but you would just have only half the immunity, half the benefit is the way I think about it.
Right, right. And we all need to be mindful that we're still in a trial area pretty much, and we're all still learning about this whole process. Next question, or would you like to add anything to that?
I do. When you're talking about the second dose, I know we're talking 94, 95% immunity, but after you take that second dose, you still want to make sure that you're using precautions and social distancing and everything, because your immunity is not fully effective. And I've read 2 studies. One said 7 days, the other one said 12 days. So I'm saying 7 to 12 days. You want to make sure that you are still using all precautions when it comes to that after you take that second dose.
That is so good. So don't get that second shot
And think I'm Superman.
and run to the
That's
beach.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, if am I understanding that we want to get a large portion of the population vaccinated in order for it to actually be safe to just start back to life? Is that correct? That, you know, we really need, you know, not just little small pockets of people, but the majority of the population. How talk to us real quick about that.
So what you're referring to is herd immunity, and it's basically how many, the majority of the people that need to be vaccinated in order for then there to be an immunity that's built up. And so 80% is the number, but that varies, that changes, 85%, even as high as 90%, some clinicians estimate. But that's the percentage of the population that you want to get there, so that then you can have that quote unquote herd immunity. Another thing I want to piggyback on what Ms. Monica said about just the vaccine is after the second dose, you don't know if it's still contagious or not. And so continue those precautions, wear your mask, sanitize, you know, wash your hands, do everything, you know, that you've been doing even after you get the vaccine, because we don't know that if it prevents you from actually catching the COVID vaccine. And so those precautions, I just wanted to hammer that point back in.
Very good, very good. Okay, are we ready for next? Here we go. Do I need to take Tylenol before my first vaccine, and then part 2, eat before having a vaccine? So should you take a Tylenol before the first, and should you eat before having a vaccine?
I would definitely say take some form of Tylenol, ibuprofen, something along that line, to make sure to try to combat the fever, or should you have that particular reaction when it comes to that. We give it to our children. We take before you take your children to get their shots, they always tell you to give them some Tylenol. So you want to make sure that you take something along that line. When it comes to eating, just depends on how your system does when you take medication. Do you eat before I don't think it would make a difference as to whether or not you ate anything or not, but it'll totally and individualize when it comes to that.
Okay. All right, anything to add?
Nope.
All right, is there a special medication that a person takes that will keep them from taking the vaccine?
No.
So the berry won't do it, you know, vitamin D alone won't do it. We need the vaccination. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
And you guys have already dealt with how long the vaccine lasts. That's still in determination at this point. Next question, and thank you, audience, for plugging in and sending in these really valuable questions. If a child is exposed at school, would you recommend they be tested, or would you suggest monitoring for symptoms? So if there's exposure, do you suggest testing, or do you suggest monitoring?
A child is going to, oh, go ahead, Dr. Smith.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that if they were exposed, I wouldn't necessarily get a test. I would get a test when symptoms were present, because that's when this test is going to be positive, if it's to be positive. And so I would wait for symptoms. If there was an exposure, personally, I don't have kids, but I would quarantine my child for recommended 14 days. Every parent is different. There's no particular guideline on that. But yeah, there's no particular rule when it comes to that. But I would say that's the precautions that I would take.
Okay. And two, kind of, you guys help clarify. So if you come in contact with a person who has COVID and they may be showing symptoms, then do you get tested that day? Because as you know, I understand it, you don't immediately show symptoms or test positive just from the one-day exposure, but it actually takes time. Talk about from exposure time to testing time. What do you recommend in regards to that?
So with my experience when it comes to exposure and testing time, in several different places I've seen 3 to 5 days where people will usually start to show some type of symptoms if they are infected with coronavirus. So 3 to 5 days. If you're not having any symptoms, then definitely quarantining for that specific time would be sufficient. And just make sure that anybody that you've come in contact with, that's another important thing. If you were exposed to a person and then you go home and you expose your family, then your family has also been exposed, so they need to quarantine as well. So you want to make sure that definitely if you begin to show symptoms, you want to go ahead and get tested if you have not done so already. So to answer the question in short, 3 to 5 days is what I've experienced.
Okay, very good. Anything to add to that?
Okay, I'll just say that just when the symptoms come about, like she said, 3 to 5 days is when I would plug in and get the test.
Okay, 3 to 5 days. Thank you. That helped me out as well. Okay, which vaccine do you recommend for people 65 and older, or do you recommend one over the other for someone 65 and older?
Whichever one is available.
Whichever one is available. All right. Please reiterate, should a pregnant woman not have the vaccine?
Okay. And I'm only answering this question because I dug off into it because I was asked the question. The tests were not done on anybody that's pregnant, so they do not recommend it. And it's not necessarily because they don't think it is safe, and this goes with somebody who, when it deals with infertility, because there was something on social media that said the vaccination will cause infertility in women. That's not true. That has not been studied. That has not been proven. The reason why they said that was because you don't want anybody taking the vaccination who is trying to get pregnant or has taken the vaccination yesterday and then today they come up pregnant or that type of thing, because there has not been any studies on that population, and you definitely do not want to be giving it to somebody that's pregnant, and you know you're talking about an unborn fetus here. So that was the reason, not because the research has proved that it will do anything, but just because they did not do this study on pregnant people.
Okay, that's good. Anything to add, Dr. Smith?
No, I agree with that.
All right, so we're going to tackle these last questions, and you guys have been super great. For those who are viewing right now, if you are appreciating this information, would you just send some hearts up and share this, because we couldn't get better experts tonight than those that we have, and for what they're telling us, this is so valuable. The next question, is there still a concern for individuals with severe allergies ability to take the COVID-19 vaccine? Is there a concern for individuals with severe allergies to take the COVID-19 vaccine?
So from what I've heard is that if you have not had any type of allergic reaction from other vaccine in the past, then you should be fine with this vaccine. I also want to make a correction. I think I misspoke when I said that the Moderna vaccine only has 1 dose. Vaccine actually has 2 doses. I got that. I misspoke when I thought about a new vaccine that they're looking at that's in their final trials. That has 1 dose. But yes, both vaccines actually have 2 doses. I want to make that correction because I think I misspoke on that earlier. But yeah, I think relatively the same with that.
Okay. All right. Anything to add to that, Monica?
No, when he talked about the 2 steps to the 2 vaccines, one's a 21-day waiting period between the first and the second, and the other one is 28-day.
Okay. All right. One is a 19-day and one is a 21-day, you said?
21 and 28.
Okay, between when you take the first and the second doses.
Correct.
All right. Is the vaccine available for people who are not considered high risk or medical personnel? I think that goes with the chart we looked at earlier,
Right.
Monica, for Mississippi. You might want to mention something, and maybe Dr. Smith, you can address that also.
So Mississippi has put out a chart that kind of gives you the different phases of the rollout for the vaccinations for different populations of people. Currently, we are in the phase where long-term facilities like nursing homes, healthcare workers, those type of personnel are being vaccinated in the first phase. We have moved on into a part of the, I think it's like 1A or 1B or something along that line. I have to look at the chart to get the correct number, where people 70 and above are now being vaccinated. Once they get that phase rolled out, then they will move to the next phase. You have to read the chart to see, who's next and where they go. You can find that chart okay, you can actually look at the screen and it'll tell you which populations are being vaccinated and in what order.
Okay. Would you like to add anything?
Nope.
All right. Let's see, the next question. You guys have been phenomenal. This is really good. All right. I have sinus bronchitis, COPD, and asthma. I'm also allergic to penicillin and codeine. Should I be concerned with the vaccine?
No.
Sinus
No.
bronchitis, COPD, asthma, and allergies to codeine and penicillin.
No, you should make sure you take the vaccine.
Vaccines are important right now. Dr.
Yes.
Smith, would you like to add to that?
I just want to say I agree 100%.
All right, next question. And two, let me add this. So these two wonderful people are giving their time to us this evening with their knowledge and expertise. They are in no way wanting to take the place of your medical professional, nor are they giving you advice to override any of the information that you've been given by your health care provider.
That's right.
So be sure that you stay in touch with yours. Take this information and let it add to your knowledge and use it for your benefit. The next question. Is it necessary to have a vaccination card once I get vaccinated? Is that a thing? I'm wondering.
I really think the purpose of the card is just to remind you of which vaccination you took, especially between the first and the second, so that you can make sure that we keep it consistent. And when you go to take that second vaccination, I'm sure they're going to ask for that card if it's readily available for you to be able to show to make sure that you are getting the correct vaccination. That's just me. I know, people are thinking, you're going to have to show this card to get on a plane. You're going to have to show this card to get, I've heard that, I've seen that, but that hasn't been documented anywhere as of yet. I just purposely think that the sole purpose of getting that card is to make sure that we understand which one that we have, so when you go to a facility, they'll know what to give you.
All right. Anything to add?
Nope. I agree.
All right. I'll say I'm tickled because I'm like, if you come visit me, pull the card out.
You'll ask for the card at the door.
I want to see the card. Like they have all of these other testing cards for HIV and all of that. Where's your card? Prove it.
That's funny.
But I didn't even realize there was a card.
There's a card.
Okay. Can vaccinated people pass COVID-19 to non-vaccinated individuals? That's good.
Okay, so from a study that I actually read today, that's why they're saying that it's important for us to continue to use our precautions, because naturally we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're in the middle of, putting out a vaccination that all of the trials has yet to be completed on. So they're saying, if you have set up some type of immunity, some people could possibly still be a carrier of coronavirus in their nostrils. So not necessarily, you may not necessarily be sick, but you could possibly pass it on to someone because you're now a carrier. They have not finished the trials. They have not finished the studies on that piece. So for the sake of being precautious, we want to make sure that we continue to do all precautions after you get the vaccination.
Okay, anything to add?
I will say, that the vaccine does not prevent you from getting COVID. The vaccine builds an immunity up that if, in the event that you do get COVID, that you would have a better chance at fighting it because your body's used to it. It already has the immunity to fight it. And so if you were to get COVID, it would likely be less severe, but you still may be able to pass that along to someone that is not vaccinated or that is vaccinated.
That's right.
Okay, well that's a really good note to just think about, that in the event you contracted, the vaccination helps to build up your system. It doesn't mean that you won't contract it. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're getting down to the last few questions, and as much as we appreciate you guys still chiming in, we're getting ready to wrap up. So again, thank you, but we're going to tackle these next questions and get ready to say a good evening to you all. And our next question, we've answered this, is the vaccine being administered to pregnant women? So you can look back in the feed. We have answered that. What is the cost of a vaccine? Is it covered by insurance? Is it just self-pay? Or is it free for all Americans?
Right now in the state of Mississippi, when they come to the facilities, we're not paying any money. Now I will say that they are getting the patients and the staff's insurance information. So I'm sure somewhere it's been put in a system somewhere, but we are not putting out any money out of our pockets for this particular vaccine.
Okay, so if you go into your healthcare place, there, as we understand, there is no cost to get the vaccine. All right.
Yes.
How about is it the same where you are, Dr. Smith?
Yep, it's the same. Right now, it's free for healthcare workers. I don't anticipate there being a charge, but I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
It's free.
It's free. There you go. When you get the vaccine, are you being injected with COVID? Are you being infected with COVID?
Mm-hmm.
So the vaccination is an mRNA virus. It does not alter your DNA. You are not injected with COVID. It is not a live virus. It is not a live virus. So no, you're not being injected with COVID. That's
Okay.
the simple question, simple answer.
So we're not getting, I'm sorry, Dr. Smith, repeat that.
I would say the old school vaccines, they would inject you with a deaded virus, but this is just machinery, to make the particles that you need to build immunity. So they're not injecting you at all with COVID.
Okay. All right. So which one did you all say was a 21-day wait, and which one is a 28-day wait?
I want to say Pfizer is 21 and Moderna is 28.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The chart that we showed earlier, or that's available for Mississippi, we will post that once we end this, but it is on screen, so you can go back and look at it as well. Someone asked, are insurances charged? Right now, what we just heard is the insurance information is being taken down, but there's no charge when you go into the clinics or your healthcare facilities in order to get it. Here's another question, and it looks like we'll be wrapping up. I'm not quite sure what this one about building an immune system before or after exposure. I'm not quite sure what that is, so we apologize. Just can't quite make that one out. But a person with RA, does this actually help them since the RA attacks the immune system? I heard it's actually a plus for someone with RA.
So rheumatoid, if you're talking about rheumatoid arthritis, that's an autoimmune disease. And so in that way, your body is basically attacking your joints and the basically the anatomy around the joints. And so that's two different processes. One is basically your body attacking, your system. If I'm understanding the question correctly, was she asking if it's safe to take the COVID vaccine?
Is
If
it
you have already,
beneficial?
is it beneficial? In that answer, then it would be yes.
Okay.
If you are taking medications that are going to decrease your immune system, immunotherapy, which in some cases they do use to treat rheumatoid arthritis, then you would need to go speak to your doctor to see if you're in that subset. But otherwise, the kind of cut and dry answer is yes, it's safe to take. But again, piggyback on going to seek your medical professional to make sure, unless you're on some of those type of immunotherapy type medications.
Okay. All right. And someone says, Monica, I think this would be for you. I was told that the vaccine is no cost, but there is an injection fee. Is this true?
I've not heard anything about an injection fee.
Okay. All right. But I would imagine with our two healthcare professionals, they would say, if it is, get the vaccine. Push the burger aside and get the vaccine. Well, we certainly thank you guys for logging in on tonight. This has been so informative and helpful. And I'm telling you, I always say when you have good information like this, no matter who it comes from, when it's helpful, share it. So you want to click share and tag someone and let them know to listen in, because this is literally a matter of life and death. I'm going to ask my guests to hang on even as we go off. When we go off, I still need you guys to just hang on with me for a minute. But listen, we appreciate you all, and let Monica, our MSNRN, CEO of Assurance Healthcare Services, LLC, and Dr. John G. Smith, who is served as an MD and has also done guest appearances on national news channels, including Dr. Oz, Good Morning America, and with David Mira on MSNBC. Do let them know how much we appreciate their valuable time on this evening by saying a thank you, sending up many, many hearts, and getting the word out about vaccine for COVID. So this has been a COVID conversation. Yay. And look, we want to dedicate this evening to a very special person. Yes. And we miss her. Yes. With everything within us. Yes. And you're going to see a beautiful smile come up. Yes. She was all about life and living. Yes. And she left us the idea to live your best life. She lived more in her years than many of us could if we went on to be 99 years old. And so, it's with grave hurt that we say it, but it's with such an honor to have known Helen, my love, Moses. And so we just thank God for her. We thank God for her service and when she was here, and watch this, and instilling in so many of us to live your best life. And we want to dedicate this evening to Helen, my love, Moses. Yes. So God bless each and every one of you. We thank God for our overseer, the senior pastor of New Life Fellowship Churches. That's Dr. Terry L. Weems, who is also the overseer of the Acts Fellowship of Churches, Pastors, and Ministry Leaders. We want to thank Dr. Valerie Bass Russell, who is the pastor at New Life Fellowship Church in Silver Creek, Mississippi. And I want to thank those who are with me at New Life Fellowship Church in Macomb, Mississippi. You guys, your giving that you always do on a regular basis, it helps us to have a peace and a comfort of mind to continue to put out information and stay connected through the airwaves in a quality way. So thank you so very much for what you all have done and what you continue to do. So on behalf of the fellowship, Pastor Williams, is there anything that you would like to come and say? He's going to come in just 1 second and let us know a word or two from him. We are so grateful. Just listen in to his voice now.
All righty. God bless you guys. I want to say thank y'all, man. This has been wonderful, wonderful. Y'all show some love for our extinguished host.
Maybe
not distinguished, but extinguished host, Pastor Tasha Dillon.
Completely.
Thank you so much for hosting, Pastor Dillon.
My
and y'all,
pleasure.
This has been just phenomenal. Our goal reached teach, and touch lives for the glory of God, trying to minister to the whole man. And this was one of those nights that we were able to, I believe, hit a home run. And I believe that many people were benefited. So thank you so much. I'll turn it back over to you, Pastor Dillon.
All right. And also I want to invite you all who are tuned in right now, join me on tomorrow evening for, as Pastor Williams mentioned earlier, our Let's Talk live broadcast. We're going to have Pastor Russell with us with our guest, the Showers, Ontario, and his beautiful wife, Minister Showers. And we're going to have just a wonderful conversation. Well, we appreciate you all. We want to thank Minister Natasha Jackson. We want to thank soon-to-be Dr. Gigi Alexander. She's here with us, and they're in our studio, so to speak. I guess our sanctuaries have become studios now for the carrying of the gospel. We want to thank Adriana. She's precious and dear, and she's behind the camera. And I'm always just, I'm like the eagle, and she's like, okay, who's doing this? Who's doing this? So I appreciate each and every person who has given. God bless you all. And as we say, go in peace and serve the Lord. See you soon.
Is there anybody here today that know that we serve a great God? Come on, I say, is there anybody here today that know that we serve a great God? I'm talking about the man that woke us up this morning and started us on our way and put the breath in our body. He gave us the eyes to see and the legs to walk. Hallelujah.
Oh, yeah. Yes, you did. Yeah. You can get in front of the green screen, Pastor Williams. A picture, a photo. She's going to do it, and so we're going to capture a picture from the four of us smiling, so we don't have to get somebody's mouth open, somebody looking down. Huh? Yeah. Okay, the way to take it down. Okay.
Excellent job, y'all.
I'm serious. They did phenomenal. Thank you, Dr. Smith.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Replace the Today Show, CBS, Morning News, y'all.
We can do it, Pastor Williams. We better be talking about Civil War, how to stock up. Yeah, I did. Well, I heard a little bit of it when I didn't really get to hear it. Okay, she's talking about it. I shared it. I knew she would. Good. Okay. Yes, ma'am. And when you do, it's shift, command, the number 4, and then pull it and snap. That's your picture. Or you can just screen. It's just a screen. Yeah, that's what I did. Those 3 together will do a screen. You have to. Yeah. Uh, if you hit the record button, maybe to take it all, it should take it all, clear it up. And you can just tell us to smile. We'll hold a smile like a picture.
Smile now on 1, 2, and 3. Look at you guys. Smile, hold it. You guys look amazing. And we are good.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Smith. God bless you. Thank you, Monica. That was awesome. That was awesome.
Thanks for having. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Let me look at him and tell him thank you. Is he gone yet? Okay. Really appreciate you, Dr. Smith.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I mean, we haven't met or anything, but of course I know your mom. And let me tell you, I just appreciate you didn't give us a hard time and your willingness to just kind of jump in. Really, I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
Yes, ma'am. It was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, my brother. Take care of yourself.
Thanks for having me, Pastor Williams.
All right.